What is going on, ICEPACK Nation? Welcome to another episode of Tuffy Talk here. We are excited today here as we got something a little bit different here because as I'm sure you probably do know, coming up here this Monday night, we got the Frozen Finley Game, NC State versus UNC in Carter Finley Stadium on the Frozen Puddle on Carter Finley Field itself. It's going to be insane to say the least. So we got with us here today the captain of the ICEPACK, Victor Hugo. Hugo, thanks for visiting us here, my man.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So obviously, the biggest thing of today is obviously previewing the game here Monday night, but obviously too wanted to kind of review the season, kind of let the fans learn a little bit about you as well, because definitely some things really stood out to me, especially on senior night, which we'll talk about a little bit here. But yeah, so just kind of start off here, kind of start from the back, and we'll kind of work our way up here. But kind of taking a look back at this season. So, obviously going into the season, obviously, there was, a lot of guys that were lost, from last year's senior class for sure. But, I think going into the season, knowing that I think our average age is only like 19 and a half, so a very young team. What was, your kind of, well, first of all, I guess let's kind of even take a step back even further. So, because obviously before you being the captain was Chris Solomon was captain for a couple of years. So what was your initial reaction when you got the news that you were going to be named captain? And was that something that, that you had aspirations to be even going into the season? What was kind of your initial reaction to that?
Yeah, I definitely always like taking a leadership role. Not to, I guess, like to my own horn, but I like being a part of that leadership crew, and I think I do a pretty good job of, getting the guys ready, and
Hmm.
making them know what they need to do. So
Yeah.
when Tim told me that I was going to be the captain, I was really excited. And I know I had some big shoes to fill from previous years because obviously you have Chris Solomon, Eric Todd, um, Cam Mazikowski. All these guys have been really great leaders, and they've built the organization to
Hmm.
the big organization that it is today. So
Yeah.
I was pretty nervous, but I was excited and just ready to start the season. Honestly.
Absolutely. Well, and obviously, kind of jumping into season, it started off on a fast pace, going to having to face Liberty at their own house for sure. Which Liberty has always been, one of the, really good teams that at NC State ICEPACK have faced on a yearly basis. So, kind of take me through in terms of, what did you feel, kind of going into the season, were the expectations that this team had set for itself at the beginning of the season, and then how do you feel that you guys did kind of starting off the season in terms of from a growth perspective and from a performance perspective?
Yeah, so obviously when we started the season, we kind of had the same objectives that we always do. We wanted to win ACCs, we wanted to go to regionals, and then make it to nationals.
Hmm.
And going into the season, as you said, we did lose a lot of guys. We lost a lot of our top scorers: Parker
Hmm.
Zarek, Riley Johnson,
Hmm.
Chris Solomon. So
Hmm.
we did have a young team. They kind of didn't know what to expect, and then we always play Liberty that first weekend. It's always a good test to just get us going because
Hmm.
they're obviously a super good team.
Yeah.
So we have to be hot right out the gate. But
Hmm.
um, yeah, so the goals were the same, but unfortunately, the first half of the season didn't go as planned. We kind of started a little bit too slow, kind of dug ourselves in a hole. But this second semester, we've finally been able to turn it up, win some games, and unfortunately, didn't get the ACC title, but we still have regionals and hopefully nationals.
Yeah. Well, especially, just like you were saying, at one point during the season, you guys were 6-12, but you ended
Mhm.
the season actually with a winning record of 15-13 heading into the playoffs. So definitely, and again, it goes to show, and because I know for myself, probably a lot of fans were at the backyard brawl at PNC Arena versus UNC, and and to be honest, because again, a little bit of background about myself. Again, I started playing hockey when I was 7, played defense just like yourself, you go, and loved it, and played all the way through most of high school, and even played some adult league and refereed for 8 years. So been very involved with ice hockey during my childhood and years for sure. So to me, from my opinion, the UNC game of the backyard brawl, it just kind of seemed like that the whole ice pack team was just kind of playing on its heels. Like, it just seemed that UNC was for most of the game was just the aggressor and just really putting the pressure on. I think it was Isaac Toyer who played that game,
Yeah.
and but then just a couple of bounces went our way against UNC, and we fought back into it. Coming back from being down 3-0 to being only one goal away from tying it. What was your kind of initial reaction from that game, and did you kind of come out with a little bit of juice, which I feel like kind of led to this quick turnaround, to be like, we were down 3-0, but then we turned it around in third period, and we're only one goal away from getting this thing tied and heading to overtime.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, starting back with we've always had a big rivalry with UNC, but previous years we've always had like a lot more skill than them. But this year they really stepped it up, and the games between us have always been pretty good.
Hmm.
So I think it's tough because since we've always been kind of dominant in those games, it was different to see them take the lead and have the lead. So
Yeah.
um, and we knew at that point, once we lost that game at PNC, we knew that our season was really on the brink of being done. If we went into next semester and we started losing more, we probably wouldn't have a ranking to go to regionals. We would have been the
Hmm.
last seed in the ACC, so things weren't looking good. So we kind of just bared down, realized that our backs were against the wall, and we have to turn the season around. And thankfully, we did. Some guys stepped up, and we were able to get some wins under our belt.
So what was like, was there ever any kind of like player meetings per se? Like, what would you say was kind of the driving force? So was it just simply just that everybody just understood where they were from a situational perspective?
Yeah, we definitely had some meetings. We had some meetings all throughout the first semester, especially just to figure out, what was going on because we couldn't seem to figure out our scoring situation. We were getting a ton of chances, but we just couldn't really convert. So we kept having those meetings, and then obviously PNC's at the end of November, so we get the month of December off,
Mm-hmm.
and we use that to really just reset. We had some practices during that time, but we kind of just took a break, just hit the reset button to come back fresh and hot for that first showcase in January.
Yeah. So in that kind of kind of taking a pause here to kind of help understand, because it's something which even I want to kind of understand a little bit more as well. But obviously, it's definitely a little bit unique with your with the scheduling for ice hockey, where you kind of have two sessions, kind of almost of a sort, or two parts to your season, where you have the late fall, early winter season, and then you have the early spring season, where you pick up in January. So like, is there anything that kind of goes into it in terms of like, is there a reason necessarily behind that, or like, just is it just kind of a way, kind of how it works out that if you wanted to play this much hockey, if you want to play 30 something games, that it just doesn't really work to fit it all in one piece per se? Like, is there a reason for that break in December?
The main reason for that break is mostly due to the school year. Since we are a club sport,
Mm.
we have a lot of our guys, and most of our guys are from the area, but a decent amount are, from out of town, like myself. And especially the freshmen, when school's over, they have to head home for the winter because the dorms close, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So it's mainly just that because we wouldn't have all our guys during winter break. So it's just nice that we get that break. They can go back home, relax, and then once school
Mm-hmm.
starts up again, once the dorms open, they just kind of resume the season.
Okay. And actually too, that's actually kind of a great thing too. So where are you originally from, and what's your hockey background? Kind of give us a little bit of insight in terms of your history before NC State.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm from Arlington, Virginia. It's just a city right outside DC.
Mm-hmm.
And I started playing hockey when I was like 5 years old. Started playing since we're so close to where the Caps play. I actually was playing youth hockey in a lot of their programs, and I ultimately ended up playing AAA for the Washington Little Caps up until my U18 year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't decide to play. I didn't want to play juniors. I kind of just wanted to go to school and get my education right. So I was just looking around for schools. I'm an engineer, so I was looking for good engineering schools. NC State came on the map. I saw the campus. I fell in love with it. It's beautiful. And then yeah, I just decided to come here, and it's been great so far.
Well, and just to confirm too, because you're a mechanical engineer, correct?
Aerospace.
Aerospace. Dang, that's crazy. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and so what got you? And so I mean, I know this isn't really kind of an engineering podcast per se, but just for my own curiosity, since I graduated chemical engineering, what made you choose aerospace?
In high school, I was just really interested in. I either wanted to be mechanical or aerospace because I was really interested in kind of that aspect.
Yeah.
I took a couple of design classes in high school, so that kind of cemented that I was going to do either one. And then I
Mm-hmm.
ultimately chose aerospace just because I was really interested in like the jets, like the F-35, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman, all that kind of stuff. I just thought that was really
Mm-hmm.
cool, and that's ultimately what I want to end up doing in my life, just working for one of those companies.
That's awesome. Good deal. And we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that, here at the end. But kind of picking back up, yeah. So I mean, that definitely makes sense with the break, and you definitely again. I mean, once January came around, I mean, I'm looking at the schedule here. I mean, you started off with one loss against Lindenwood, but then you went on I think I'm counting here off the top of my head, 8 game winning streak all the way through February 3rd against against UNC. So and some big wins along the way. Obviously, beating uh, Wake Forest and Virginia Tech, beating Virginia Tech twice actually. And University of Delaware. So definitely some huge wins there to kind of get back on track. But I'm definitely kind of curious. So first of all, how many years have you been at State? Have you been 4 full years at State or 5?
Yeah, this is going to be my fourth year.
Okay, cool. So kind of talk to me in terms of the away side, because I mean, like we see here, coming out of January, you guys traveled to St. Louis and played 3 teams. So how does the road trips typically work from a scheduling perspective? I mean, how do you guys balance being an aerospace engineer, for example, and traveling to St. Louis for a weekend to play 3 games, and then kind of a follow up question to that right after is, do you have a favorite uh, away trip that that kind of stands out in your mind from your time at NC State?
Yeah, so the trips they are pretty difficult because obviously since we're not technically student athletes, we don't really get that absence verification that they do.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely do have to make up a lot of work, and there's definitely a lot of homework being done on buses in the hotel rooms just to make sure that we stay on track.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not too bad because we definitely get enough time. The games take up maybe like 4 to 5 hours of our day, just including warm ups and all that stuff. So there's enough time to get the stuff done. And favorite trip, that's a tough one. I mean, there have been a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
Um, I loved the Nationals trip 2 years ago to Bismarck. That was a lot of fun. And I think 2 years ago as well, we also went to Florida. We went down to play FGCU in their
Nice.
home turf, and that was a lot of fun because the weather was amazing there.
Mm-hmm.
It was in February, so we were in shorts, t-shirts, even went to the beach. So just
Yeah.
a lot of fun to hang out with the guys.
That's awesome.
Before
So
we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flightland's Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flightland's Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flightlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
kind of wanted to jump here into the ACCHL playoffs, and we'll kind of touch base on that, and then we'll kind of see where we stand time wise. We definitely got to get to the Frozen Finley, and then talk about
Mm.
kind of what's next for what's left over for this season for the ICEPACK and life for you after NC State. But yeah, so I mean, obviously going into this tournament, obviously the team went in with I think a lot of momentum. Obviously, losing the first game of a 2 game series against UNC, first one at home, losing. But then, the next night to go to UNC's, arena, which at least from what Coach Healy told me, the head coach of IcePack told me, was that even with it still being at Hillsborough, which is technically UNC's home rink, that there was still apparently more red there than there was blue. So I thought that was pretty sweet.
Mhm.
But kind of talk to me in terms of, I mean, because like I know talking to Coach Healy, we did our post game interview, and we said that this next game can say a lot. Will say a lot about this team. If you guys can, bounce back after losing, a tough one to UNC on your home ice, and then not even 24 hours later bounce back and win a game against UNC to end the regular season on a high note and heading into the playoffs with some momentum, that would be that's a tough challenge. I mean, to lose to your rival and then have to face your rival again that you have not beaten once this season, play them on their own ice, the last game of the regular season before playoffs. So I mean, tell me a little bit about that locker room in terms of, I mean, what would you like if you had to, pinpoint a reason, for that turnaround? Like, what would you kind of give it to? I mean, and you can even say leadership. Feel free to give yourself a little bit of props a little bit there as well. But I mean, because that's tough. Like I'm saying, anybody who's played sports, I mean, laying out those things to come back against, that's tough for sure.
Yeah, we had a meeting after or before the second game on Saturday at Hillsborough.
Mm-hmm.
Just the leadership group and the rest of the team, and we basically kind of said that this is a must win.
Mm-hmm.
We knew our backs were against the wall, and we kind of were thinking that we're not going to lose four times this team. Like we can't be doing that this season. We've beat them so many times throughout the previous years, and if we go 0-4 against this team, like it was just not good. None of us, it wasn't sitting well with any of us. So we kind of talked to the guys, and they had the same understanding as us. They had the same sentiment as us. They're understandable, and we kind of just all decided that we were gonna just dial in, and we're gonna do everything we had to not lose that game. It just came down to basically just who wanted it more, and thankfully we did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to kind of ask you one funny thing too, which I learned after the game. That I was talking to some of the coaching staff's wives actually, and they were telling me about the UNC goaltender and how he's 38, and he
Yeah.
was a former Marine that joined that went to UNC and decided to also play hockey while being at UNC as well. I mean, first of all, I mean, like that's just first of all that's just kind of a crazy thing to wrap your head around, being like, like how this guy who's double probably everybody else's age is playing on the same team. And because honestly too, on top of that, I think he's only like technically a freshman or a sophomore. So he's technically, still got a couple years left. Does that, I mean, do you guys think about that at all? Like, do you guys talk about that at all? Just because to me, like that just seems a little, that's definitely unique to say the least. Unique.
Yeah, when we first heard about it, we were definitely kind of shocked. I don't think any of us really believed it because, I mean, you don't really hear about a guy who's almost 40 years old playing club hockey.
Yeah.
So we were definitely a little shocked. And yeah, we talk about it all the time. We know couple of his weaknesses, so we think we can exploit them going further. But yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely something you don't see every day. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Yeah, and so again, obviously, again, getting that huge win, heading, finishing off the regular season, heading into the ACCHL tournament, which like we were saying, I mean, ICEPACK's won 4 in a row, so definitely heading into Winston Salem, heading into the tournament. There was definitely a lot of eyes on the ICEPACK for sure, and you come off strong and get a huge win over Virginia Tech 9-1, which was expected, I think, in my eyes, at least for sure, against Virginia Tech team that you guys pretty much had control of the whole season. But then heading into the semifinals, on Saturday against Penn State, one of the things that really stood out to me was that Penn State had only played 22 games this season, which you guys played well over 30, and so. To me, it's kind of a risky thing. Now, I know that one thing, which is kind of interesting as well, and maybe this kind of can be a good point to talk about this, but Penn State is new this year to the division, correct? They just joined the ACCHL league. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, this is their first year.
Okay, cool. So I mean, so how's it typically work? Because I've seen, and a lot of people said this, like, why is Penn State playing against us in the ACCHL? And then also too, because I've seen within the ACCHL that there's different divisions even as well. Can you kind of give for even myself just kind of get a little bit of a reminder, but for fans that don't know exactly how that works, just how that's all formatted, and everything like that.
Yeah, so this is actually the first year of this two division format because the commissioner of the ACC is always trying to make the league better, and it has been. We've been us
And
ourselves have
it's
been.
not the commissioner of the ACC overall, because the ACCHL is not technically an ACC division because we're not a
Yeah.
varsity sport, correct? So
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah,
cool,
that's
gotcha,
correct.
cool. Go ahead.
But yeah, we've just been trying to get more competition and better teams in the ACC. And when Penn State and Rowan both decided to join, um, they made a split division. So they took what they thought to be, I guess, the top teams in the ACCHL and the bottom teams in the ACCHL, and they kind of split them. So there's
Okay.
6 in the top, and I think there might be 10 in the bottom. I'm not
Well,
sure. I do think they have a little bit more.
okay.
But for our division, the top 2 teams in the ACCHL were to get a bye on that Friday, so which was Penn
Mm-hmm.
State and UNC,
Mm-hmm.
and then the bottom 4 would play, and then
Mm-hmm.
it'd go into the semis and then the finals. Um, but yeah, that is their first year, and they came in. I've heard because they couldn't get a win in their previous league, and they thought they could get a win in the ACCHL.
Hmm.
And when we played them, we knew it was going to be a tough game. We knew it was probably going to be low scoring, just because they're a really solid team. They got solid D, solid
Mm-hmm.
systems, and a good goaltender. So
Mm-hmm.
we knew we were going to have to battle, and it was kind of just whoever made the first mistake was probably going to lose. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, they scored on us in the second, and we had some chances, but we weren't able to capitalize on any of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one thing too, which I do want to kind of ask a little bit here too, but going into the Penn State game, obviously Coach Healy gave me the honor of coming in and giving you guys the starting lineup before the game, and just kind of get a little bit of background. Coach Healy, I literally messaged him the whole season, be like, hey, what can I do? When can I announce the starting lineup to a team, whatever? And it was always that I just can never message early enough to get on the schedule before somebody else had taken it. And so finally I messaged Coach Ely right when the ACHL tournament times were announced. I was like, hey, my wife can be there Saturday. My wife and I can be there Saturday. Can I do it then? And he was like, yeah, that's cool. And of course, from the moment he agreed to it, he was like, but you gotta bring energy though. You gotta bring energy. And literally, yeah, just every single time I talked to him, just gotta bring energy, gotta bring energy. And then even when we got there and I, said, Coach Ely, hey, I'm here, let me know when I need to go back. He was like, all right now, but you gotta bring that energy now. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like, Coach, like the more you say it, the more it just makes me just okay, just be careful what you wish for, because I'm gonna let it unload now that you keep saying that. And then on top of it too, because again, I was nervous heading into it because, first of all, Coach Healy kept saying, just remember, this is the last thing the players hear before they go down the ice, which I was like, oh my God, okay. And then on top of it too, I guess Kevin or Keith, whatever his name is, the guy who's the ICEPACK fan, crazy fan or whatever. I guess
Yeah,
he did y'all's starting lineup before the Virginia Tech game. And Coach Healy, like right before we went to the locker room, said, "Yeah, Kevin or Keith, whatever his name is, did it for us yesterday. Did a really good job." And so, which I'm like, Coach, you're killing me. Like, so that just made me even more nervous on top of it, knowing that like I had this bar, this expectation going into it as well. And literally like on Saturday driving there, like my wife could tell you, like I was just like fit to be tied, just like just like because like literally I was going in my head because I didn't know like how long like I had, like I didn't know like if you said you have 30 seconds or you have 2 minutes or something like that. And so like I had like all these different things I want to touch on, even had like general ideas like, okay, if he gives me 30 seconds, I'm going to talk this much or say this, they say that. And so then once he told me, you have 1 minute, go. And yeah, it was just it was cool. It was awesome. And again, I mean, if you haven't seen that already, we posted it on our Twitter page, and it was fun. It was great. And I'm sure, I don't know if you saw it even as well, but like the whole time my left hand was just moving the whole time, which I it was a mix of nervousness, but it was also adrenaline. Like honestly, like once I started, I was just like, all right, like just like Coach has said, I'm bringing energy. I'm letting it all go. Like ready or not, here we go. And so just wanted to kind of mention that. But so now I've said all that, Hugo, being a captain leader yourself, how would you rate my pregame speech from 1 to 10? And be honest. Don't you don't have to be nice just because you're on the show, man. Feel free to give me some constructive feedback, man.
no, it was really good. You
Let's
definitely
go.
came in with energy, that's for sure.
Let's go.
And that's the main thing we need. We always say that to Tim and to the guys. We just need energy, because we all feed off that. So that was no. I'd give it. I give it probably a 9 or a 10. Definitely,
Let's go. That's
definitely got the boys ready to play.
Let's go. That's sick. I love that. I love that. Awesome. Yeah. So, we'll kind of dive into here more, to kind of wrap up, obviously this Penn State game, and then talking about, again, what's next for the season, talk about Frozen Finley a little bit here in part two here. So with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, make sure again, to follow this ICEPACK team again. This is a great team to follow. Tickets to the games themselves. I know, for the Monday night game, Frozen Finley game at Carter Finley, the game's at 7. It's free, to go. So I mean, again, to be able to see, a hockey game taking place in Carter Finley Stadium, happening NC State versus UNC for free. I mean, you're not going to beat that. So make sure to go and support these boys and help them get this huge win to kind of shorten the series lead for UNC a little bit more. And so make sure to support them there. And with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, thank you so much for joining us here. If you want to see part 2 here, make sure again to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, which is free to do, so that way you're notified on all your devices whenever we go live with any new NC content. Hit this like button if you love NC State ICEPACK just like us, and also to give us a follow, Tuffy Talk now on Twitter and Instagram. We'll see y'all for part 2. As always, go Pack, y'all.